Bisa Butler. Bisa Butler is one of the most recognizable textile artists working today, but what makes her work stand out is how she completely changed the way people look at quilting in contemporary art. Born in 1973 in New Jersey, Butler originally trained as a painter. She studied fine art and wanted to become a traditional artist, but during graduate school, she began experimenting with fabric after a personal family experience pushed her toward quilting. That decision changed her career completely. Instead of using paint, Butler builds her portraits entirely from layered fabric and stitched textiles. From a distance, her works look like paintings, but when you move closer, you realize every shadow, skin tone, and texture is made from carefully selected cloth. She often uses African prints, vintage fabrics, and bright patterned textiles to create highly detailed portraits of Black Americans. Many of her subjects are based on historical photographs, everyday people, or overlooked figures from African American history. What separates Butler from many textile artists is the amount of realism and emotion she achieves through fabric alone. Her use of color is very intentional. Skin tones are often represented with unexpected blues, purples, reds, and yellows, giving the portraits energy instead of trying to imitate realism in a traditional way. Even though the materials are soft, the final works feel powerful and monumental. Her career reached another level after major museum exhibitions began attracting huge audiences. Institutions like the Art Institute of Chicago and the Smithsonian American Art Museum helped bring her work into the center of contemporary art conversations. For younger artists, especially painters, Bisa Butler's work is important because it proves that medium does not limit seriousness. She took a material traditionally associated with craft and pushed it into the world of contemporary fine art without losing its cultural history or emotional connection. Diedrick Brackens. Diedrick Brackens is part of a younger generation of artists who are changing how textile art is understood in contemporary art today. Born in Texas in 1989, Brackens works mainly with hand-woven textiles, but his work goes far beyond traditional weaving. He combines storytelling, history, identity, and personal experience into tapestries that feel both ancient and modern at the same time. Before becoming internationally known, Brackens studied art in Texas and later earned an MFA in California. During that period, he became deeply interested in weaving traditions from West Africa, Europe, and the American South. Instead of treating weaving as craft decoration, he approached it as a serious fine art medium capable of carrying political and emotional weight. One thing that immediately stands out in his work is scale. Many of his woven pieces are smaller than monumental museum tapestries, but they feel extremely intimate. He often depicts Black male figures, animals, rural landscapes, and symbolic scenes that deal with masculinity, race, sexuality, labor, and memory. His compositions sometimes look simple at first, but the closer you look, the more layered they become. Brackens dyes many of his own fibers by hand and uses traditional weaving techniques that require patience and physical labor. That process is important to the meaning of the work itself. Every thread becomes part of the storytelling. Unlike painting, where an image can appear quickly, weaving forces a slower construction of the image, and you can feel that slowness when looking at his work. His rise in the contemporary art world has been fast. Museums, collectors, and major galleries quickly recognized that Brackens was bringing something fresh into contemporary art, while still respecting historical textile traditions. His works have been exhibited internationally and are now part of important museum collections. For younger acrylic and figurative artists, Diedrick Brackens is important because he proves that contemporary art does not depend on medium alone. Strong ideas, cultural depth, and personal vision matter more than whether the material is paint, fabric, or thread. Do Ho Suh. Do Ho Suh is one of the most important contemporary installation artists working today, known for turning memories of physical spaces into large-scale fabric sculptures. Born in Seoul, South Korea, in 1962, Suh originally studied traditional Korean painting before moving into contemporary art. Later, he continued his education in the United States, and that experience of migration became one of the central themes in his work. What made Do Ho Suh internationally famous was his ability to recreate entire rooms, apartments, hallways, and buildings using translucent fabric. Instead of building these spaces with concrete or wood, he carefully sews them together using lightweight polyester material. The result feels almost ghost-like, as if the architecture exists between memory and reality. A lot of his work is based on places he personally lived in throughout his life, including homes in Seoul, New York, and London. He recreates details like light switches, radiators, doors, ceilings, and narrow corridors with extreme precision. But the work is not really about architecture alone. It is about displacement, identity, memory, and what it feels like to move between cultures while carrying pieces of home with you. One important thing about Suh's work is the contrast between softness and structure. Buildings are usually associated with permanence and strength, but he reconstructs them using fragile fabric that can fold, move, and travel. That completely changes how viewers think about space and attachment. His installations have been shown in some of the biggest museums in the world, including the Museum of Modern Art, the Tate Modern, and the Victoria and Albert Museum. For younger acrylic and figurative artists, Do Ho Suh's career is important because it shows that contemporary art is not limited to canvas painting. He built an entire artistic language around memory, personal history, and material experimentation, proving that even architecture can become emotional storytelling through art. Joshua Adokuru. Joshua Adokuru is part of a new generation of Nigerian artists using unconventional materials to push portraiture in a different direction. Born in Suleja, Nigeria, Adokuru originally studied computer science at the National Open University of Nigeria before fully committing himself to art. Like many young contemporary artists, he did not begin with access to major studios or international institutions. His career started from experimentation, curiosity, and self-teaching. He first gained attention through hyper-realistic drawing, but over time he developed a unique style using wool thread, nails, and acrylic on board. Instead of applying paint traditionally with brushes alone, Adokuru builds portraits by stretching colored thread across hundreds of carefully placed nails. The process creates layered facial features, shadows, and textures that almost look digital from a distance, but become completely physical when viewed closely. One thing that stands out in his work is his use of blue tones for skin. Rather than trying to imitate realistic flesh colors, he uses intense blues, purples, and contrasting colors to create emotion and atmosphere. His portraits often focus on Black identity, youth, emotional expression, and human connection. Even though the materials are simple, the final works feel technically complex and highly controlled. Adokuru's rise has been fast within the contemporary African art scene. His works have appeared in international exhibitions and fairs, and his pieces have also entered conversations around contemporary textile and mixed media art. Major platforms like Sotheby's and Artsy have featured his work, helping introduce him to a wider global audience. For younger acrylic and figurative artists, Joshua Adokuru's career is important because it shows that originality can come from process as much as image making. He took accessible materials like thread, nails, and board, then built a visual language that immediately separates his work from traditional painting while still keeping portraiture at the center of his practice. Ernesto Neto. Ernesto Neto is one of the most recognizable installation artists working today, known for creating massive organic environments that people can walk through, touch, and physically experience. Born in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil in 1964, Neto emerged during the 1990s and quickly became known for moving sculpture away from hard industrial materials towards soft, flexible, and sensory forms. What makes Neto's work different is his use of fabric, stretching materials, spices, beads, foam, and hanging textile structures that often resemble parts of the human body or natural organisms. Instead of creating sculptures meant to be viewed from a distance, he builds spaces that invite direct interaction. Visitors walk inside the installations, smell the spices, hear sounds, and experience the work with their entire body rather than just their eyes. A lot of his installations are made from translucent nylon fabric stretched into biomorphic shapes that hang from ceilings or spread across floors. Some works contain spices like turmeric, cloves, and cumin sealed inside fabric membranes, filling exhibition spaces with strong smells. That sensory approach became one of the defining characteristics of his career. Neto's work is heavily influenced by Brazilian culture, indigenous traditions, meditation, and ideas about human connection. Even though the installations can look playful or soft at first, they are carefully engineered structures that completely transform architectural spaces. His work often removes the cold feeling associated with contemporary galleries and replaces it with something more physical and immersive. Over the years, Neto has exhibited in some of the biggest museums and international exhibitions in the world, including the Guggenheim Museum, the Tate Modern, and the Venice Biennale. For younger acrylic and figurative artists, Ernesto Neto's career is important because he proves that contemporary art can move beyond flat surfaces entirely. He built a global reputation not through traditional painting, but by creating environments that people physically enter and emotionally experience. His work shows how material experimentation can become the foundation of an entire artistic identity.